What happens when that thing you built in your entire relationship on shatters? Hey, let's get real for a second. Trust is everything in a marriage, right? But maybe you're sitting there right now feeling completely broken. Wonder if it's even possible to come back from this betrayal, from this lack of trust. Like, and I don't want you to understand whether it's infidelity, whether it's betrayal, or just years of little broken promises adding up. Trust issues can feel like it's impossible to live, like it's impossible to get over. But listen, you're here watching right now, which means deep down inside that you had some hope. Like you want to believe that healing is possible. And I want you to know I see you. You're not alone. My wife and I have been where you've been right now. All right? This is a journey that so many of us have had to walk, and I'm here to walk it with you today. So I'm glad you're here. So let's go on this journey together because I'm here to tell you that with God, you can adapt, recover, and grow from these painful experiences. Healing, I mean, real healing is possible. All right, so now let's start with the truth, right? Trust is one of the most important and most sacred things when it comes to marriage, right? But when it's broken, it feels like the ground has been ripped out from underneath you. Like it hurts, and it's okay to admit that you're hurting right now. It's okay to admit that you're broken right now. You don't have to pretend not to be affected by this. You don't have to pretend that everything is okay and that everything is fine. No, it's not. When your trust is broken in your marriage, when you can't depend on that person that you took vows when you're supposed to love for the rest of your life, the person that you said is your person, when they destroy that trust, when the betrayal creeps in, whether it's like the infidelity, the broken promises, or anything, it's gonna rock your world. And it's okay to admit that. Psalms 34:18 tells us the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. If your heart is broken right now, God is right there in this mess with you. He sees every tear, every moment, every doubt, like every sleepless night. God is there. But today, I want to help you. I want to help you take some steps to truly adapt and recovering and growing from this situation right here. I want to help you take the steps to invite him into your brokenness, to begin the process of healing, to begin the process of adapting, recovering, and growing from this painful experience so that you can have your life back. Because that's what broken trust does. That's what betrayal does in your marriage. It takes your life. Not in a physical standpoint, but it takes your life in the sense of it takes your freedom because now you become a slave to your thoughts, to your feelings, to your trauma. Because this is trauma, let's be real. Betrayal in marriage, broken trust in marriage is a traumatic experience. And if we don't act like it is so, we want to try to ignore, avoid, or shove it all down, it's going to keep us stuck because what we resist persists. So let's not front or act like, yo, this isn't a traumatic experience because it is. Now, let me break down what trauma is for you. Trauma is anything that happens. Hear me clearly. The basic root definition of trauma is anything that happens to you that makes you feel emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually overwhelmed, and unsafe. Makes you feel overwhelmed and unsafe. That's a traumatic experience. Overwhelmed and unsafe. Now think about that betrayal, what it did to you, the broken trust. Overwhelmed you, makes you feel unsafe. Maybe not physically, but unsafe in your marriage, unsafe in your vows, unsafe with your spouse. Causes a lot of insecurity. So what we're going to focus on is how to invite God into that brokenness, how to invite God into this traumatic experience so you can restore what has been broken, so you can get back what has been lost. It's possible. I want you to know it is possible. You can adapt, recover, and grow from this painful experience. You can adapt, recover, and grow from these things that you've been through, from this broken trust or the infidelity, whether it's the years and years of broken promises. the emotional. If it don't have to be a physical thing all the time. Like when we're talking about broken trust like you did something that you said you wasn't going to do, or you didn't do something that you said you was going to do. That's it. That's how trust is broken, right there. And when we look at it, how deep that really is, how many promises do we break to ourselves daily? How many promises do we break to other people daily? How many times have you not kept your word to yourself? So think about that. This in a day alone, how many times have you said, I'm going to do something and you didn't do it? Or you said, I'm not going to do something and you did it anyways? Broken trust. Like, let's be real. Like, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but do you even trust you right now? Do you keep the word to yourself? So I want you to understand, like, this broken trust is real. But you can adapt, recover, and grow from it. Now, real quick, how do I know this? Let me give you a little bit of backdrop. We've been there. If this is your first time listening to me, hearing about following our page, Butler's Best, or anything about us, then you missed a heck of a ride over these last couple of years. So I'm gonna get into it real quick. Let me sip my coffee. Normally, at the time of this recording, you know what I mean? Normally I would be smoking a cigar right now, having a cup of coffee. But actually I'm on my way to be ready to leave the church in a little bit. My wife and I are actually getting baptized today. Now, yes, I've been baptized as a child, but that was kind of forced. That was like, Mom said, "Here, you're going to get baptized. Go up to the church, join church." You know what I'm saying? I like 7 or 8 years. I forget the exact day. How old I was, I mean, and I just remember going up with a note saying I want to be a candidate for baptism. That was it. Like, you understand what I'm saying? So, like, okay, Mom said I'm do this. I'm gonna do this. I believed in God all my life because that's what was laid upon me. Um, but over the last 2 years, I came to know Christ for myself. I came to know the power and glory of God for myself. It wasn't what other people told me. It wasn't what people passed down to me, but it was what I experienced for myself. So, we recommitted our lives back to Christ, and I'm saying all this to say, like 2 years ago, we was in a very dark place. Well, I should say I was. I was in a very dark place due to sexual addiction. And with the way that sexual addiction manifested was in my marriage. It was a lot of infidelity, a lot of broken trust. It was a lot of womanizing, like a lot of cheating. I ain't gonna lie to you, physical, emotionally, mentally. Like even I was a serial cheater. I'm not gonna lie to you, and it's something I'm not proud of. So when I say you can adapt, recover, and grow from these things, I'm not telling you what I heard. I don't do theory like my mentor Myron Golden says. We don't do theory up here. I ain't talking about what I heard, what I read about. I'm talking about what I know. This is facts. You can adapt, recover, and grow from your painful experiences. You can mend the brokenness. Well, I should say God can. God can heal the situation. He's your bridge over troubled water. And right now you're in trouble. If you're dealing with infidelity, if you're dealing with broken trust in your marriage, you are in trouble. There's no other way to put it. You're drowning right now. But today, here's your lifeline. So back to us. Little backdrop. Um, Rough childhood for me. Physically and mentally sexually abused, emotionally abused, rough childhood. Been homeless, had to sleep in cars. Like I get my stories out there, right? I'm saying all this to say that not all trauma leads to addiction, but all addiction is rooted in trauma. Hear me when I say this. Not all trauma leads to addiction, but all addiction is rooted in trauma. How can I say that? Well, addiction. Now I want you to think about this. Addiction is nothing but any behavior, anything that you do, to anything that you turn to bring you peace, to bring you joy, to stop hurting, to fix pain, to fill a gap, to fill a need that is not good for you. Anything that you do to try to cope with the things that are going on in and around you that is not good for you. But no matter how bad it is, you cannot stop. That's addiction. Now I'm gonna do another video on addiction and go a little bit deeper into that because addiction it manifests in many ways. But we're talking about the behavior. Any behavior that you do, that you turn to heal pain, to fix a need, to fulfill a need, to fix a problem, and you know it's not good for you, but you can't stop anyways, right? So me, how did I feel? How did I fix a need? Sex. How did I fulfill a hole in me, a problem? Sex. How did I celebrate? Sex. How did I, pick myself back up when something bad happened? Sex. Women. Like, that's what it was. And I did not have control. I was a slave to that thing, right? So it manifested in my marriage. Cheating, infidelity, sexting, texting, all that, porn, masturbation, all those things, right? Now, let me tell you how deep it is. My wife did not know. My wife did not know how bad it really was. She knew I had an issue with sex addiction. She knew trauma. She knew all these things. I was open about those things, but I didn't let her know how far the addiction went. So December 31st, 2022, I hit rock bottom. And I do my rock bottom in another video, but I hit rock bottom, and it was New Year's Eve. I hit rock bottom. The next day I was in church. Next day I gave my life back to Christ. And I cried. I was dying. Gave my life to church. Rejoined church. Got into a 12-step program, and I've been in it ever since. And listen to me. Yesterday I just passed 20. No, I'm sorry. On November the 1st, I just passed 22 months of sobriety, serenity, and sanity for the first time ever in my life. Like this is the longest I ever been. Like I never been in this period where no sexting, no texting, no flirting, no fantasizing, no porn, no masturbation, no cheating, no nothing. No nothing. I've been all in on God and my wife for the last 22 months. First time ever in my life. I never had a committed relationship. All right, and listen, I'm not bragging on me. This isn't about Derek Butler. Please, I'm talking about the power of God. I'm talking about the goodness of the Lord. I'm talking about how good God is. I'm talking about how He delivered me from this disease of addiction, which is cunning, baffling, and powerful. So I was saying all this to say, January 1st, went back to church. January 2nd, joined the 12-step program. Been rocking and rolling. Talking with my pastor. Pastor grew up with him. That's a whole nother story right there. He was a big drug dealer in our town, wild dude. Turned his life over, and that's what really brought me back to church. Understanding that, seeing what God did in his life. Because at the time that I joined church, I was like, "Yo, if God can do that in his life, then He has to be to do something in mine." Because, like I said, I knew of God from a little child, but I didn't know God. So I said, I gotta get to know God for myself. Because what I'm doing isn't working, right? So fast forward, join church. My man takes me up under his wing. He's actually like my spiritual father right now. And the way I break that down is, okay, I'm 2 years walking in the spirit. He has 27 years walking in the spirit. So he's 27 in the spirit. I'm 2 in the spirit. So therefore, he's like my spiritual father. Now in the physical, my man only 2 years older than me. But that's a whole other thing. He's only 2 years older than me in the physical, but in the spiritual realm, he's been walking with the Lord for the last 27 years. I've been doing it for the last 2. So he's like my spiritual father. So over the process from January to September, and the reason why I say January to September, 9 months, he and I have been walking this thing out, building. He's been pouring into me, helping me through battle this addiction between my mentor, my sponsor, my 12-step program, one of my other closest friends. We've been walking this thing out, the good, the bad, the ugly, and it was ugly. Okay, I don't want to get too far off track. It was ugly. But what happened was, he kept telling me, over the first night, hey Derek, you gotta let your wife know. Nah, nope, nope, no, I don't. Derek, you gotta tell her. My wife and I joined church. We was really in church, and boom, boom, boom. Derek, you gotta tell. No, I do not. I'm not gonna tell. Hey, Mike, I'm taking this to the grave with Brian. You know where we come from. We do not tell. We don't snitch. That was a code where we come from. Like, we don't tell. We especially don't tell on ourselves, right? I ain't telling her. She don't know. I said the best behavior, the best apology you can give someone is a change in behavior and who you are. And I changed. I don't do those things anymore. So that's the best. I'm taking that to the grave. He said, "Well, man, we really need to tell her, blah." And we got to the point where God, I said, "Man, for me to tell her, that means God is going to come down and sit next to me and say, Derek, you need to tell her." And that's exactly what happened. Like, it was, man, it was crazy. Like, God kept piercing my heart and put it on me to tell her. So in September, I disclosed to her how deep the sexual addiction went. And my wife is a very strong, amazing woman. And to see my wife crumble, and to see the way she broke when she found out the truth that I wasn't the man that she thought I was. I'm sorry if you hear snoring. My dogs are laying right next to me right now. I got a Cane Corso, or some say a Connie Corso. I got a Corso and I got a Pit Bull, and my Corso snores like a human. Like she worked a 16-hour shift yesterday, and she just got up this morning not too long ago, 8, and now she back sleeping. But anyways, forgive me for that. So that's the snoring you hear. So I had to disclose to her how deep it went, and my wife broke, and it broke me, and we had to walk that journey. We had to walk this journey to rebuilding. And I'm saying all this to say that it's possible. And it started with some key things that we had to do. And it started with, forgiveness. I know that word can be hard to hear right now. But forgiveness isn't about just brushing it under the rug and acting like, okay, it don't happen. I'm just going to move past, or like, it didn't hurt me. What it means is that you're choosing to let go of the control that the hurt has in your life. Forgiveness is saying, I release this to God because I can't carry it alone. And Jesus actually showed us what forgiveness looks like. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, he showed us what it looked like when he was hanging on that old rugged cross. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Because he knew we weren't perfect. That's why he came. But now I know you're going to say, DB, my spouse knew what they were doing when they did this. I get it. I'm just giving you an example of Christ's forgiveness, because we're supposed to live and love like Christ. So I'm not dismissing the pain that you're feeling. I'm not dismissing what's going on with you. What I'm saying is, if we're supposed to live like Christ, Christ chose to love us over judgment. And that's what forgiveness looks like in marriage. It's choosing love even when the hurt feels awful. Even when the hurt is overwhelming. And I get it. But if we're going to get anywhere, if we're going to bridge this gap, it's going to have to start with forgiveness. And what you're saying when I forgave is like, I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to let go of my anger, my bitterness, my resentment, because I want freedom more than I want revenge. I want peace more than I want him to hurt, him or her to feel pain. Now, I want you to understand something. If you're the one who's been hurt in this, it doesn't mean you're going to ignore the pain when you say, I choose to forgive. You really can be honest about the hurt. But don't. The forgiveness is a piece that's not going to allow that hurt to become a prison and enslave you. It's going to, when you say I forgive, that means that you're not gonna let that prison keep you from experiencing the joy, the peace, and the connection God wants to bring back into your life and into your marriage when you walk through this thing. Now, I know it's tough, but I want you to understand something. Forgiveness does not equate reconciliation either. Because we forgive, that don't mean we're going to instantly reconcile. No, 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 no. There's forgiveness here, and then reconciliation here. Now, there's a lot of things in between, but I want you to understand something. It doesn't mean it's either or, right? Doesn't mean, okay, I'm reconciling, but I'm not. No, because you can't have reconciliation without forgiveness. right? But you can have forgiveness without reconciliation. Why? Because forgiveness starts, so you have to start here and then go through. It's not like you're in the middle. Okay, I'm gonna choose to forgive, and then we're automatically gonna have reconciliation. Or start in the middle. I'm gonna choose to reconcile, but I'm not gonna forgive. You don't go that way. You have to go through the forgiveness. Start here, go through the forgiveness, and then walk that tough road to get to the reconciliation. Now, what does that look like? Well, when it comes to rebuilding trust, you're probably saying, "Well, I can't forgive." You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to. I'm trying to tell you that's the only way you're gonna get to the reconciliation. And forgiveness is something you're gonna have to choose to do every single day. Every day you get up in the morning, you're gonna have to forgive. Every day. Every day. And because to be honest with you, the reconciliation, the trust, that's not something that's gonna be built in one day. And if you're sitting there right now, DB, there's no way I can trust this fool again. No way I can trust him or her again. Now, I get it. That's the pain and anger speaking. That's the pride and ego speaking. You're hurting. But we can't let that hurt enslave us. You can rebuild this, and it's going to be brick by brick by brick, step by step by step. Now, listen. If you are the one who was like me, who broke the trust, here's something I need you to understand. It is going to take time. Oh my gosh. It's going to take time, and you have to stand up under your spouse right now. You cannot rush this healing. You can get defensive. You don't have a right to be. You do. You're allowed to feel what you feel. Understand? I get it. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be tough, but you don't have a right to act out your frustration in this situation. Because remember, you caused this. Let's be very clear. You did something you wasn't supposed to do. You broke trust. So you're going to have to stand up under the weight of what's going on. There's no other way about that. Yeah, I'm talking tough right now. I am because this is serious. Because you're going to have to wear this thing. I had to wear my infidelity. I had to wear this broken trust. And it did not feel good. Oh, I didn't like it. But I had to stand up under my wife so that we can rebuild. But I want you to know something real quick. I was able to stand up under my wife because of the foundation I was standing on. Good God. Because Christ was my firm foundation in this, I was able to stand up under my wife and carry the weight of my choices, of my disrespect, of my irresponsibility, of my selfishness. I was able to carry the weight of those things because I was standing on a firm foundation. Mm. So this healing is going to take time. And if you're the one to cause this disruption in your marriage, it's going to take time and it's going to require consistency from you. You will have to be willing to show up every single day and put in the work when it doesn't feel good, when it's uncomfortable, when it's kicking your butt. You're going to have to show up and put in the work every single day. And I'm going to tell you, one of the simplest, I'm not going to say it was easy, but the most simplest thing I did to rebuild the trust was with transparency and accountability. I could not come from a place where I'm just like, okay, this is what it is. We got to move past it. I did what I did, and we got to move. Nah, I was an open book to my wife. And if you want to get to this point where you're overcoming, I'm talking to the person that committed the infidelity, committed this crime against humanity. Yes, that's yours. Wow, Derek, why are you talking like that? Because when you break trust in your marriage, when you hurt your spouse, you are hurting everything else. It just doesn't impact you. You are committing a crime against humanity because our world needs stronger marriages that are going to produce stronger families. that are going to breed stronger children who are going to become stronger leaders, who are going to become stronger church leaders, who's going to create change in our communities and overall change in our world. So when you fail in your marriage, you're failing our world, because the marriage is the backbone of God's kingdom agenda. It's bigger than just you. When marriages fail, we have children that fail. We have leaders that are going to fail. A society that's going to fail. A world that is failing. And it starts with you and your spouse. Yes, it's that deep. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than a nut. Sorry, let's be real. Speaking of that temporary feeling you get. So you're going to have to be open and honest to bridge this gap. True. So God can restore your family, restore your marriage. So you have to let your spouse see everything. Be open with your phone, your time, your habits. This isn't about punishment. This ain't punitive. It's about showing day after day after day that you're committed to the change, that you're committed to the process. It's about making yourself vulnerable so that your spouse can see you're serious about restoring what is broken. Transparency is a powerful step to truly creating a safe space again so that your love can flourish. Love cannot live in a place that is unsafe. I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't talking about the feeling of love. I'm talking about love as an action, because we know love ain't a feeling. Now, those of you who are on the other side, the one who has been betrayed, allow yourself to notice these small steps. See the effort, even if it's hard. Acknowledge when your spouse is making an effort, because it's just not about holding them accountable. It's also about letting healing happen for you. I'm going to be real. My wife, Lord have mercy, that woman, good gosh. Thank you, Father. Like, for real. Thank you, Lord, for this wonderful woman of God, for my Proverbs 31 woman. I'm going to be honest. My wife did not try to hurt me back. She did not try to seek revenge. And I kind of expected her to. I kind of was giving her a pass. Go out and get your lick back. Because that would have made me feel better. I'm going to be honest with you. Because that meant I didn't have to carry that weight. Let's be real. If she didn't went out and cheated back, yes, it would have hurt me. I would have felt better. Because now we both in the mud. Now we both had to rebuild. No, she didn't know. She didn't make me suffer either. I was suffering. Don't get me wrong. I was suffering. It was hard. But she didn't go out her way to make me suffer. So listen to me. If you're the one who's been hurt, your job is not to make it hard on your spouse. Your job is not to come from a place where I'm going to make it so uncomfortable for him or her. I ain't going to make it easy so they don't think they can just do. Nah, you're coming from the wrong place then. Because now you're making it more about you than what about God, and more about what God is going to do through you, for you, and with you. And we're going to have real talk on this. You're here. We're 28 minutes into this thing. So if you're still with me, we're going to be real about this. You can't go out your way to try to hurt your spouse back, because you're robbing God of the process. You're robbing God of his power. What you're saying is, God, I got this. I'm going to make this fool hurt. Nah, that's not going to work. Because now you're not allowing the healing to happen. And it's keeping you stuck in suspicion and anger. And that is the change to the pain that is wrapping you up right now. But when you open your heart, listen to me. When you open your heart to the possibility of trust being restored, oh my goodness. Now you're allowing God to take the chains off of your mind, off your heart, off of you, off your marriage. You have to invite God into this process. Because this trust cannot be rebuilt just on human effort alone. Because I ain't gonna lie to you. There's gonna be days you're like, I don't know how we're gonna get past this. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's going to be days when you're like, I don't know how we're going to get past this. How are we going to overcome this? But that's why Proverbs 3:5 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. So that means even when you don't understand why this happened, how could this happen? Why did she or he do these things? Lord, how are we going to get, even when you don't see how you're going to get past this, even when you don't feel that you can get past this, you have to know it's going to be okay. Because you're leaning on the Lord everlasting and his understanding. We have to trust that God is working everything out for our good, even in our brokenness. Because when we lean on his promises, we understand that he can bring beauty from ashes, that he can make all things new again. When we bring God into our healing, into our pain, when we bring God into this process, he has the power to rebuild what we thought was lost forever. Hallelujah. So how do we do that? Oh, you hear this all the time. Oh, you got to go to your war room. No, seriously. You have to go to your knees in prayer. Not just praying for your spouse, but praying for yourself and ask God to heal your heart, to give you patience, to bring peace where there's anger, to bring healing where there's hurt. Hold on now, this is powerful. You have to ask God to help you see yourself through his eyes, as his beloved son or daughter, as his child, as his righteousness through the finished works of Christ. You have to begin to see yourself as God sees you. And then next, oh Lord, you have to be so hold on. Let me back up real quick, because when we ask God to help us see ourselves as he sees, we're seeing ourselves through his lens, through his filter of grace, of mercy, of favor, of love. And that brings a different perspective. So now you can say to God, Lord, please help me to see my spouse as the way you see him or her. Help me to see my spouse as your beloved son or daughter, as your righteousness. Help me to see my spouse as your heir to the kingdom. Help me to see my spouse with eyes of compassion, grace, mercy. Help me to see my spouse the way you see me when I mess up. Help me to see my spouse the way you see me when I break your trust, when I break your heart. That shifts the perspective. Now, if you're the one who did the breaking of the trust, you're going to have to go hard to prayer for strength and commitment to stay the course, to be consistent, to show up every day with integrity, with vulnerability, with transparency, and walk this thing out. Ask the Lord, Father, help me to love my spouse in a way that brings you glory and honor, and show up for her the way you need me to in this situation, the way where she's going to feel free, open, loved, safe. You can't do this on your own. Your way ain't working. Your way is what got you into this situation. Yeah, let's be real. Accountability. Your way is what got you into this thing. So you're going to have to pray for God to give you strength to show up every day and give you the wisdom and knowledge and the strategies to love your spouse in a way that brings him glory and honor, and truly honors your spouse. Now, I gotta get up out of here so I can get to church, but let's talk about some practical steps real quick. All right. First, you gotta establish clear-cut boundaries. There has to be boundaries right now. I call them standards, whether you want to call them principles, whether you want to call whatever you want to call. There has to be a set of standards, principles, or boundaries for you guys to operate through. Because these boundaries, these principles, these standards of how we're going to operate, and they have to be agreed upon. When you have these things in place, it helps you both to feel safe again. I don't care if it's a set of principles or boundaries around phone usage, around social media, or even around time spent apart. Yeah, it has to be that serious. We have to have guidelines about how we're going to operate moving forward. Because these are safeguards for your marriage. This ain't about restriction, not restriction. But it's safeguards of what you guys agreed upon, how you guys are going to operate. A set of standards and principles. Because now it's not about what I want or what she wants or he wants or whatever. It's about what we agreed upon, how we're going to show up and honor God. Second, you have to make it a priority to check in on one another regularly. You have to set aside time each week where you sit down, look each other in the eye, and get real about where you are. How are we doing? Are there any concerns we need to talk about? This might seem small, but this is actually huge. Because consistent communication truly builds a foundation that strengthens over time. It's going to help you guys. You have to check in. Third, you got to find little ways to reaffirm your commitment daily. This is big because the spouse that has the broken trust, the spouse has been hurt in this situation, they're going to need the reassurance. I'm not going to lie to you. They're going to need that. So to reaffirm that commitment, that might look like a simple text. Hey, I'm thinking about you. Or small gesture like bring them a favorite coffee, or just something simple like, hey, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. These little affirmations go a long way. And no matter how hard it gets, I'm not running. Because to be honest with you, like, I needed to show my wife when we were rebuilding, like, yo, I'm not going. Yes, I went places before. I didn't deal with things properly before. I didn't deal with my emotions before. I didn't deal with my frustrations right before. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm here, baby. I'm in this with you. And I had to show that. It's not just about talking. And I'm going to be honest with you. For the first time ever in my life, over the last 22 months, my words have matched my actions, and my actions have matched my words. Hallelujah. That's only through the grace of God. Listen to me. I can talk all day long. I always had that gift again. I was gifted with talking. Back in the day, we called it spitting game. I had rap. You know what I mean? I can sell ice to a polar bear. So I always knew what to say to make myself look and sound good and feel good. But I couldn't always do it. My action did not match my words. So now I'm in a place where my words are just not words. They're backed up through consistent actions daily. So you want to have to take these small steps to make sure that your actions are matching your words, and so your spouse knows they're not going anywhere, that you're not going anywhere. And finally, don't be afraid to lean on wise counsel. Listen, we couldn't do the rebuilding. I'm gonna be so honest with you. When I told my spouse, all right, I'm gonna tell her, but we're gonna need you guys. They were actually our marriage mentors. He and his wife, and they're the pastors of our church, Inner Light Baltimore, and part of Inner Light Ministries. And man, when we date, the way, I ain't gonna lie to you, because I was the transgressor, I was the offender, I was the one who committed this heinous act. I'm not making light of it, but I want to be real. When you do things like this, it's really detrimental, right? I didn't get it, the comfort and support that I kind of wanted or needed. Well, Lisa, I told, and I didn't have to tell, because understand this, when I told my wife, she had no clue. But the way that our family, our church family, wrapped my wife up and supported her good, oh God, thank you. We didn't have to carry this alone. We had a couple who's been married 54 years. Another couple married over 20 years. Like, we had people in our corners that wrapped my wife up, but also held me accountable. Like, I didn't get it. It won't know. Okay, Derek, it's okay. You made him. No, oh no, it was. Whoo! Yes, I got love, I got encouragement, but I got hard, stern, consistent accountability. So I want you to know it's important to invite others into your journey. And I just don't mean anybody. I'm talking about people who you can trust, people who are walking in the will and the way of God, people who are modeling what a Christ-like marriage looks like. Not just talking about it, not in theory, but living it out. Not the production of a perfect marriage, but a productivity of two people who are yielded and submitted to living the word of God. Someone who has been where you've been and can speak life and truth into your situation. You cannot try to carry this alone. It's not going. You can't isolate and think like, "We're just going to deal with it." Nah, that's the problem. We don't want to be real about things. We want to put up this front like everything is good and everything is okay, and we don't want to allow people in to help us. Don't get me wrong. Yes, you can't let everybody know your business. You can't, because people are going to use it against you, and people are going to give you the wrong thing. No, so it has to be a trusted source. It has to be someone that align with what your beliefs are when it comes to marriage, when it comes to a kingdom-driven, healthy, and thriving marriage. You cannot carry this alone. God places people in our lives to help us through valleys. So reach out, be honest, be vulnerable, be transparent, and receive that support. Let me be clear, this isn't going to be an easy road. It's not. This isn't going to be an overnight fix. There will be hard days when it feels like you're taking 2 steps forward and then boom, 3 steps back. There's going to be days when you feel like you can't get up out the bed, but you have to run on because that's okay. Healing, and my wife says this all the time, right? She didn't say it in an article, but my wife, with her mentees and clients and things like that, healing is not linear. Please understand. It's no straight line, but every single step you take is worth it. Because when you come out on this other side, your marriage won't just be fixed. It'll be refined. It'll be stronger than before. And it'll be built on a foundation that nothing, no storm, no betrayal, nothing is ever going to happen again. No mistake, no attack from the enemy, no spiritual warfare, no person, place, or thing will be able to shake that foundation. So listen, if you're feeling like trust has been broken, you're not sure where to turn, just know that you're not alone. God is with you and there's a path forward. And if you're stuck and struggling for real and you're tired of suffering in silence and isolation, then reach out. You can connect. Leave me a message on this video. You can reach me at Butler's Best, well, reach my wife and I at butlersbest24@gmail.com. Like, leave us a message on Facebook. Leave us a message on this YouTube. Drop a comment. We will be honored to walk with you step by step. If you need someone to talk to, just drop a comment below. Reach out. Like, if you need help finding a mentor, I don't care if it's not even us. If we can point you in the right direction, we will. But don't carry this by yourself, because this is real. And as real as it is, so is overcoming it. That's real too. You can overcome it. So if you're stuck and struggling and you're suffering in silence and isolation, reach out. Let's gain some clarity on where you are currently. Let's see what's working, what's not working. And if and how my wife and I can help you guys truly adapt, recover, and grow from this painful marriage experience, conquer these destructive thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that are in the way so you can release them, so you're thinking more clearly, responding and communicating more effectively, and truly developing that unshakable faith so that you guys are thriving confidently again and having that healthy and thriving marriage where you're experiencing deeper intimacy, joy, peace, power, and fulfillment. All right. So thank you for being with today. If any of this resonate with you, be sure to like, share, comment, pass this on. Okay. Remember, you're not alone in this. You are not alone. Subscribe to this channel for more kingdom driven insights and share this with someone who needs a little hope today. Remember, family, this is a journey. It isn't easy, but it is worth it because you're worth it. And you are not alone. God's got you, and so do we. All right, take care, family.